Howdy, Matthew Pizgatti here. Welcome back to the channel. I was just about to perform my daily compound into the Detonator on EMP.Money and the EMP protocol, the EMP ecosystem. And I was figuring I might as well go ahead and make a video explaining a little more components of this daily burst. If you're not familiar with this, this is the amount that you are estimated to get by the time this timer runs out. This is the amount of estimated dollar amount and LP token amount that you could claim that day, as long as you claim pretty close to the wire here. Now, what's interesting is that even though you are getting this 1% multiplier a day, there's a few other factors in here that actually make this a little more attractive than it looks like it is. And you can see here, my estimation was about $13. Obviously, the EMP amount, the Ethereum amount can change. So the LP token value is going to change throughout the day, so that can throw it off a little bit. But you can see that I have more than what I'm looking at here. And that's because we're getting this 1% multiplier a day, but it also depends on our share of the pool. If you look at the documents here, it shows that here's this part right here, payouts and prizes. 3% daily of the total pool is distributed to all depositors proportional to their share of the pool. So daily, if you're depositing, you're compounding back in, you're making deposits, you're going to see 3% distributed across everyone, and it's just depending on your proportional share of the pool that we saw on the previous screen there. And then, of course, 1% of the overall pool is to the two types of lottery. 1% is a random lottery winner. 1% is the single largest deposit, which I don't come anywhere near. I don't have that much in here. But I will go ahead and compound. I like to do it just a few minutes early because I've had this fail and sometimes I have to rerun it. But let's see if it'll go through first time. Oh, and that was my other point to make, is that in addition to this 13, this was up to about 1340 or so, you actually end up depositing more than that if you're not claiming, because claiming has a tax on it, and that's really what this is reflecting. And that's what this other amount up here is reflecting. It's reflecting that extra tax. You see, if you hover over compound, you hover over the compound button, it says 20% savings. So all of these numbers, which I actually like this, they've accurately pulled that 20% out ahead of time so that you get an accurate representation of what you would be claiming. However, when you hover over compound, you're adding that 20% back in because there isn't a transaction fee. There's not a fee for compounding. There used to be a slight one. It was like 5% versus the full 20%. So you got a 15% bonus, but they bumped that up to 20% bonus on top of that amount. So that's why, even though I only am getting maybe about $14 a day here, I still am able to get a lottery ticket, which is around $14.23. So even though I was only at $13.40, $13.50, that extra 20% pushes me over the amount, and I get a lottery ticket. Now, just to remind you all, if you're not familiar with this system very, very much, or you've played around in the other parts, the farm, the nodes, the boardrooms, etc., this lottery is actually pretty lucrative as far as the odds. Like, it has very good odds for winning. If you do any type of statistics, or if you're familiar with the way most lotteries work in general. I mean, you talk about like a state lottery or something like that. Sure, the prizes are millions and millions of dollars, but it's usually you versus a million other people. Whereas here, I only have one ticket, but there's only 5,000 tickets here. Now, as these total participants of users grow, which it has been growing and increasingly, by leaps and bounds, as the word gets out about this project, you can see now we're over 5,000 tickets here as it comes to crunch time. Your chances, I mean, even 1 out of 5,000 is a pretty good chance to win 36,000. That's what the prize is right now. And you can see people sniping at the end here that, someone just deposited 5,670. And as we hit these last like 10 seconds, you see people who have enough to throw around who try to get that snipe. Oh, up to 16,000. Here we go. 4 seconds, 3 seconds. Let's see what the winning snipe ends up being. Count it down to 0. Probably have to wait for it to wait for the timer to roll over to see the top. But you can see right away why this is sustainable. You can see why this this payout is sustainable, because yes, it's 36,000 to two people, one who's the top depositor and then one who is just a random ticket drawn from a hat, essentially. But it's sustainable because, especially because of those snipes. Those snipes, at the last minute, if you've got 10 guys throwing in 6,000, 8,000, 10,000, someone throws in 20,000, they don't always win. Obviously, one of them wins, but they essentially make this payout themselves. That's why this is so sustainable here, and why it's not been a problem. This says yesterday's winner. We'd have to look on the YouTube there to see who was the top from today. I don't think that actually shows anywhere. It looked like it was about 16, 17,000 though, so that's pretty impressive. Whoever that was ended up getting a payout of 37,000, somewhere around there. So if you had that much to throw around and you were able to snipe a couple days, it'd probably only take maybe 2 or 3 days of trying. But if you threw in a large enough amount, you'd be guaranteed to get this, almost guaranteed. I shouldn't say nothing's guaranteed in this game. But by the way, if you do win this, either from the random lottery ticket, which you can see I did not, or from the largest deposit or reward, either one of those, that's 1% of the total share of the pool. So you can see I'm at 0.01%. And this keeps climbing the more that gets deposited into the pool, which is really awesome. I'm having a lockup of the brain there. Just a moment. Yes. So you're depositing in here, and you get 1% of the total pool, whether you're the random ticket winner or you're the highest deposit. And what happens with that is, we should really stop looking at it in dollar amounts. It's really LP amount. So this 391.18 of the LP token, which is the EMP Ethereum token, goes into your deposits. So you can't claim that right away. But where it was at previously, 20,000 or so, now it's over 30,000, 37,000. So right away, it gets deposited, and then right away you'd have the potential to, once a day, claim that whatever that is, whatever 1% is, plus some of the multiplier depending on your share. So you're probably claiming 350, close to 400 from this amount if this gets deposited. Obviously, just like any of these contracts, like DRIP or other things that work similar, if you have less to stake, so if you're not compounding, if you're constantly just claiming every single day, you're going to climb towards your max payout. You're also missing out on all of the crazy compounding. And on top of all that, you reduce your share of the pool, so your amount does dwindle over time, and you come close to your max payout. And then once you reach your max payout, you're basically done, unless you deposit more, because you can have up to 365% of your deposits. But if you're claiming every single day, you'll work towards that and actually work against yourself over time, as your reward value will drop. So that's a little more information about the detonator if you're not as familiar. And by the way, if you do have a large amount in here, maybe you won the lottery, or for whatever reason, maybe you just had enough to throw in and you're playing around with the detonator. If you are getting a larger amount out here, remember that to keep the protocol itself healthy, they don't actually recommend selling off your EMP. You could split the token and then potentially do something with your Ethereum. But really what they would recommend is, you don't want to sell EMP because that's hurting the peg value and not keeping it at peg. You'd actually want to take your EMP, Ethereum, LP, and probably put it into this farm, for instance. Yeah, so you'd want to put it in this farm. And once you're in this farm here, the EMP Ethereum, you're actually earning E-shares. And this is printing pretty often. You're going to take your E-shares, and the E-shares, you could skim some off the top. That's really where you would take your profit from. So detonator, you're pulling out this huge amount, whatever you're claiming every now and then. You might want to put that into the farm. We're not selling anything off yet. We're going to earn E-shares, and then we can take a percentage of our E-shares and sell those if we'd like to take a profit there. And then we'll take those E-shares, whatever we have left after taking our, whatever it is, 10, 15% profit, whatever you scrape off the side there. And then you put your E-shares into the boardroom. And then when this is printing heavily, you'll be getting EMP. So then you'll have EMP, and you can kind of recreate the whole process from that point. You could take the EMP, pair it to Ethereum and use the LP to put back into the detonator or back into the farm. And there's other farms here, of course. You could do eShare to BNB, which also earns eShare. And that may be a simpler way for you as well if you don't, because if you take your eShares and pair them to BNB, rather than, because it depends on how you're adding it in there, how you're creating that LP token. Let me hop back to the home here. Yeah, you see how there's a Zap button? If you're familiar with these Zap buttons, they create the LP tokens for you. The only concern with, say, using... I'm trying to work through my process here. So we're talking about, yeah, through the boardroom. So if you get to the boardroom and you are earning EMP, the downfall of, say, zapping in with the EMP, because you could zap the EMP into LP here for EMP Ethereum, or you could zap it in for eShare BNB LP tokens. But the problem with zapping in is that when I zap this EMP into the Ethereum LP, if I don't already have Ethereum that I bought separately, then what I'm actually going to be doing is selling half of my EMP to gain Ethereum during this zap process, and that's what, that's going to drive the peg down. It's going to hurt the system more instead of keeping EMP at peg value where we want it. Remember, it's pegged to Ethereum, and we want to keep it at that ratio. So what would actually make more sense is if I have EMP, I don't want to sell it. So I could buy Ethereum separately, and then create the LP token myself, or I could use some other token to zap in that's not EMP. So that may be the strategy there. Is, say you're in the boardroom and you're earning... if you're earning EMP, you just have a bunch of EMP sitting around. If you want to create the LP token, you really need to purchase the other side. Like, if you already had eShare, then this would be an easy pairing. You could just pair your EMP and eShare together. For that farm, you could pair your EMP and eShare together. If you already had Ethereum, you could pair those together. The other thing you could do is if we are below peg, you could hold on to your EMP until we're below peg, and then you could buy bonds with those whenever we're under peg, and then you redeem those later for a greater amount of EMP when we're back over peg. So that's one strategy you can do with straight EMP. What else could you do? So the main thing you're going to want to happen here is the farms, because those eShares are really where you can take the profit off of. eShares and bonds are where you're going to take the most profit out of this whole ecosystem. You can also buy nodes, which would gain more EMP over time, but they are kind of a slow payout from what I understand. So a lot of different ways to play this system, and I need to get better about not zapping in as well. If you're zapping in other things other than EMP, so if you have like BNB, you have BUSD, whatever any of these other options are here, yeah, BNB, eShare, Ethereum, BNB or Ethereum, if you're zapping that in, or eShares, none of those are going to hurt the peg when you zap in. But if you're trying to sell, if you're using EMP, meaning that half your EMP is going to be sold off to make the LP token, then you really don't want to use those zap buttons, as that hurts the overall protocol and hurts your actual earnings. As always, if you haven't checked out the Telegram, that's a great one to join for EMP. Also, they have this Academy course. You should check that out. You should watch through this on the main page. That kind of explains what keeps the protocol healthy and how to play it. Probably better than some of my rambling did here, but I'm just explaining it how I understand it. As always, not financial advice. Do whatever you want to do with your funds. But the Detonator has been pretty promising. I think it just has a lot of potential, mainly for this huge lottery payout. It's got the 1% multiplier a day, just like Drip Faucet, pegged to Ethereum, so it has all that potential if Ethereum climbs or explodes one of these days. And you actually get more than 1% a day here with your percentage of the pool, this part of this daily burst. You get more than this, and you actually get 20% added on anyway when you compound versus claiming. So all in all, a pretty cool system. The zap-in was really amazing of a thing that they created that lets you create these LPs on the spot. That's pretty impressive. I hadn't seen that on many other contracts protocols yet. And overall, EMP.Money just seems to be kind of exploding upward. I mean, just watching the detonator alone, I've seen this pool balance continues to increase, the total number of deposits. People are claiming, so they're getting their funds back. The number of users keeps climbing. I see a lot of potential here, and I think it's going to keep kind of ticking upward. So, all right, I'll catch you guys on the next video. I just wanted to catch that live when I was compounding to mainly demonstrate that extra 20% and to illustrate that you are getting more than a 1% multiplier. Depends on your percent of the share, your your percent of the pool or your share of the pool, as indicated in the documents. You're getting 3% a day distributed to everybody proportional to their share. So the more you put in, the more little extra you're getting back there. I'm earning about a little over 16 a day that I'm compounding back in. So just that power of compound interest, like everything else, the more you compound, the longer you compound, the more if you have a small amount in, like I do here, the quicker that will be rewarding for you down the road. All right, yeah. You guys have a great one. Stay safe. Catch you on the flip on the next video.